Here now at the Kimberley Heritage Museum with Administrator Marie Stang. Marie, thanks for joining us.
Thank you.
Now Marie, you just take one look around this building and it's obvious to see one of the dominant things about the history of this town is the Sullivan Mine. How important has the mine been for the city of Kimberley?
I would say it's probably the most important thing in many ways, because people would not really have settled here as early as they did without the discovery of the ore. First on the North Star, and then on the Stang mine, and eventually the Sullivan. Mining is what put the town on the map.
Now, it was in operation for over 100 years. Obviously, when anything that's been around for that long closes, which it did in 2001,
yes,
there's going to be a huge impact. You were around at that time here in Kimberley, you've been here for 50 years or so. What was the mood? What was it like when the mine closed?
They really announced the closure of the mine in 1990, so it really took another 11 years for it actually to happen. So many people really had resigned themselves to that fact. So it was a major impact, but probably not as major as it could have been. People had all that time to plan, the community had time to plan, city had time. I think people really it was a gentle easing into the fact that it wasn't going to be there anymore.
And the town has made a transformation, the development of Kimberley Alpine Resort. How much of an impact do you think that has on the town now, and in terms of making it more of a tourist destination than before?
I think it probably has increased slightly. The city of Kimberley, when they took over the ski hill, really developed, advertising it and promoting it out of the region and out of the area. So I think probably the ball started rolling with the city of Kimberley when they owned the hill, and when they sold it to RCR, they merely just sort of turned up the development of the hill as far as the condominiums and that sort of thing. The city had already built the golf course, so that was already in operation. So I think it just sort of gave it that extra little push in that direction of, the development of the buildings and such.
Another big part of Kimberley's history is the Bavarian city in the Rockies, which was developed in the 70s. What was the idea behind that?
Well, they really started in 1968 talking about downtown revitalization. And with that came the notion of, even if we, do revitalize the downtown, we're just another nice little town. We have nothing that sort of makes us any different from anyone else. So then they began to think of, a tourist theme. And so it started out actually as Alpine, then narrowed to Bavarian. And that really was a group of business people that used to get together and, have these sort of coffee meetings in the mornings, and they really came up with that idea. And so they actually voted on it in the fall of 1972 and had a referendum, and the town voted on it, and by May of 73 they started the Platteville. They were done by July.
Wow.
It was all hands on deck. Even local people volunteered. It wasn't just city doing it. The whole community really got behind it.
How much impact do you think that had overall?
I think that had a huge impact. We even today in the museum get visitors who come in and say they were here 20 years ago or 30 years ago, and they enjoy the Bavarian theme. That was why they stopped. It made people think, oh, what's that about? And it did. It increased the tourism, I would say, probably tenfold from just the normal everyday, on the highway driving,
And there's been a decision in recent years to kind of move away from that and give Kimberley, a new identity again. But there are remnants of the Bavarian city, and I think would you say very valuable remnants like the Platteville? I
would say that the Platteville is probably the biggest draw for people, because they can just walk around. Their kids can, run around the Platteville. They stroll through the stores. I think that is a huge draw for people. Pedestrian areas, whether they have a Bavarian theme or not. I think that's a huge draw, especially people with young families. And
it's always, a reminder of the city's heritage.
Yes.
Now, you've been here, as we mentioned, quite a while. What is it about this town that you like on a personal level?
Probably it's It's openness. People here, and there's another comment we get a lot in the museum, how friendly it is here. People come as visitors and, you know, they feel like they get treated like one of the town's own. People speak to them, everybody says hello, like they love that atmosphere of just that open feeling.
All right, Marie, well, thank you very much for joining us on Where You Live.